episode 135 of the Bros Talking Soccer podcast. My name is Dave Knittel, and I'm here with my two brothers to talk about what's happening in American and European soccer. I'm the oldest Knittel brother. I think I said my name was Dave Knittel already. If not, I'm Dave Knittel. Christian, hello, Middle Knittel. How are you doing?
Well, it's nice to meet you, Dave Knittel. I think that's what you said your name was for 3 times there, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, now you know.
Hi, I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
I am good. So I am down the shore right now, Jersey Shore, on the East Coast, your guys' time zone. And so this podcast is going to be a little different, listeners. Before I get into that, though, I want to talk to Matthew. Matthew, I know you're not on the East Coast. I'm just remembering that now. Hello, yeah. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, Dave. Doing good. This should be a fun podcast. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, so listeners, we've been dealing with some technical difficulties the last probably 25 minutes or so. Also, I've had a couple of drinks, and this is going to be just one long episode. Again, like I said, I'm at the Jersey Shore. I'm not going to edit it too much, so this is just going to be one long episode. You're not going to hear music. You will still hear our plugs and everything like that, but let's get into things. Christian, do you have our trivia question?
I do. Do you know?
No. Before we get going, we're part of the Big Heads Media Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for tons of podcasting content. Christian, now back over to you for our trivia question.
I would appreciate when I'm talking, you don't yell no really loud. I would
no.
appreciate that. Thank you. So the trivia question this week is, do you know who has the latest goal ever scored and what minute it was in Premier League?
Okay. I can't remember who actually scored it, but they just talked about this on a recent broadcast I was watching, and now I'm forgetting it, but I think I might know. So listeners, you will think on that as well, and then we'll give our guesses at the end before Christian reveals the true answer, and it'll be a glorious, fun ceremony. Matthew, I think over to you for Matt's Megs at this point.
Thank you, David, and Christian for that lovely introduction to me. Usually Christian sends it over to me.
because Dave just hopped in and took it away from me.
That's mine. That's mine now.
I like that.
All right, this is my section.
That's mine now.
This is my section. Okay, so hey everyone, welcome to Matt's Megs. Today, I think it's going to be a little bit shorter as we will talk about Manchester City and Liverpool's week. It was pretty uneventful, I would say, their weeks. So I'm going to start with a little conversation about the clubs. Why'd you look at me like that, guys?
Well, I mean, they both won. I wouldn't say it was uneventful.
I was looking at Dave and his weird-ass drink that's green that he's drinking.
Well, no. So the problem is I have these damn paper straws, and look at the straw. The straw is completely disintegrated, so I got to drink it like this. So, sorry, Matthew. For those not just listening to the podcast, check out our YouTube video so you can see me look like a fool drinking this smoothie.
Looking like a fool.
I thought it was a movie. All right, so... Okay, both teams won this weekend. I that's not eventful, I would say. You would expect them to win.
But there were goals, and there were events that happened, right?
I was talking like news, not talking about like gameplay.
All right.
No big stories coming out. Dave, just here interrupting Matt's Megs. But Christian, I'll start with you. A story did come out that Barcelona were interested in Trent Alexander-Arnold. I would say, how much validity do you put into this, and at what point are Liverpool going to kind of back away from selling kind of their top-end talents and being able to keep them? Because, I mean, I'm not saying Liverpool can't keep talent. They just won the freaking Champions League. But, losing Sterling, Suarez, Torres throughout, recent years, do you think they're going to be able to keep their top-end talent, or do you think Barcelona is going to be able to take Trent?
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you for mentioning Torres. He's retiring soon, and that will be discussed when I start
foreshadowing
later. But I don't think that there's any validity to this. I think Trent Alexander-Arnold is someone who's from Liverpool originally. He grew up through their youth academy, and he has no reason to leave right now. First of all, I've never heard anything about this, and I look up Liverpool rumors and everything every single day, so I'm surprised to hear this. But he is a player that would succeed, I think, at Barcelona. He's that type of attacking fullback that they love to have, and the right back is one of their weaker positions right now on that team. But I can't see him leaving. He loves the club, and chests out for the boys.
All right, Dave, what do you make of this and Liverpool's transfer sagas?
Yeah, so I also have not. I mean, I certainly don't check rumors all the time like Christian does, but I have not heard anything about this either. Now, on top of that, I don't think that he will be sold. I think Liverpool has changed things up a bit. I mean, Klopp is someone who, I mean, it seems like players want to play for him. And so, with Coutinho leaving to Barcelona, I feel like that was a turning point in that I don't know if the club's going to continue to do that. Now, it never makes sense for you to hold on to players that don't want to be at your club. So there's always going to be an element of selling players on. But I still think that the way that Liverpool is trending as a club versus a club like Barcelona, who, as fantastic as they are and as deep of a hold as they have on South America, I still think things are changing a bit. And I wouldn't be shocked to see Liverpool end up as more of a destination in the not too distant future. So, I mean, I don't know. That's how I kind of see all of this playing out.
Okay. And something I just kind of put together as we were talking, do you think Barcelona, I mean, obviously it's going to take it, they're not going to be the same when Messi retires or leaves, but do you think they're able to get these transfers just because of Messi, or do you think just how big they are as a club in general?
I think that they have,
them?
I think they have a huge media presence, a worldwide just brand that they have, specifically in the Latin American countries, in South America, they have done an excellent job of really just spreading Barcelona and Real Madrid specifically. That's why a lot of those players want to go there. They think that's the pinnacle of how they know if they were successful in the sport. But it does seem like there's a changing of the guard happening a little bit with the English Premier League. First of all, getting all the money that they are with the media now or TV rights, I guess, not really media. And then they're going to use that to build their brands even more.
Fair enough. Dave.
Dave's smiling.
Dave's just smiling and not looking at the camera.
Oh, he's looking at that.
Because I guess, Christian, now you comment under Bros Talking Soccer, I think, because you did the other thing. So apologies. So for anyone listening to the podcast, we apologize. Anyone watching the YouTube video will understand everything that's happening here. But if you don't really understand, check out our YouTube video and it'll make a little bit more sense. So apologies for smiling, guys.
Okay, Dave. So if you wanted to pay attention a little bit, what do you think about just kind of Barcelona's presence and South American culture, and will they take a hit after Messi?
I don't think they will, because I mean they had that presence before Messi, and they'll have it into the future. Something like that doesn't happen overnight and doesn't change overnight, and so I would expect them to continue as a big brand. Obviously, Messi helps to a certain extent, but as amazing as it is, I still think that they're a bigger brand than just Lionel Messi. Right? They've had Ballon d'Or winners before. They've had fantastic players, and they'll continue to have them in the future. I don't think everything is tied to just Lionel Messi.
And I think it's a combination of things or I guess it's contradictory things, where people want to play with Messi because he might be the greatest player to ever play the sport, but people also who are very, very talented sometimes don't want to be in his shadow, so he could be a deterrent for top talent as well.
Yeah, Neymar situation. I mean...
And now he's like, oh, wait, no, I just kidding.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
All right. So we're talking about the South American talent kind of going to the Spanish clubs. Do you think that the Premier League will be able to attract those talents in the future? I know Liverpool just won the Champions League. Do you think England can become a preferred destination for the South American talents, or do you think Real Madrid and Barcelona have kind of paved the way and they're the sole clubs that they kind of admire?
I think there's going to be, like I said, a changing of the guard a little bit. I still think Barca and Madrid have a stranglehold on it right now, and it will remain that way for quite some time. But with the Premier League teams really just generating all that revenue, and with the Premier League blowing up the way that it is, it's just exposed all over the world, and it's going to slowly start to be the teams that people prefer to go to, weather pending, obviously, for certain people, but
yeah. Well, I also think culturally, obviously speaking the same language, most of South America speaks Spanish, and so there's a tie to Spain and to the country of Spain. And also culturally, I think it is a little bit more similar. England can be a culture shock to some South Americans, and so I think there will always be that element that's not really going to change. And so I think Madrid and Barcelona will always hold that advantage over English clubs, even with English clubs maybe being bigger global brands.
Yeah, I think I agree with you guys. To be honest, I don't remember what Christian said. So I agree.
You agree with Dave.
Yeah, I agree with Dave. But yeah, I just think it's going to be so hard to kind of remove Real Madrid and Barcelona out of those cultures. And for me, I know Man City and PSG are kind of like the new money where, I mean, you could still be top end talent and they're going to get them just because of the money. Chelsea, even another one. But it's weird because like Liverpool and Manchester United are so like historically great. I'm not sure like how South Americans view that, or if that's like a European success thing, like where you want to go to Manchester United or Liverpool, because I don't necessarily see that like worldwide, even though they're top end clubs.
I think recently we've seen more South Americans going to Liverpool. Manchester United, you still are seeing a lot more Europeans. But I just maybe because Coutinho was successful there, that just helped a little bit. I mean, we have Alisson, Fabinho, and Firmino there now.
Suarez really as well.
Suarez, yeah. Okay, yeah, my bad. Forgot about him for a second. But yeah, there's been a lot of top players who have come in there recently, and they're enjoying success, and they actually seem to love living there and the culture that the club brings. So that might be helping as well.
Yeah, fair enough. All right,
Thanks.
Dave, any additional thoughts on that?
No, Christian's just fantastic.
Okay, sweet. So now let's just talk about quick Man City topic. Real quick. So Pep today has kind of said, or not today, this week, he was in an interview and said, do you think you're the best manager of all time or something like that? Something along those lines of being an all-time great manager. And he said no because of he doesn't change the culture where Sir Alex Ferguson changed the culture of Manchester United. I'm trying to think. There was another one where they changed the entire – Cruyff changed how Barcelona and Netherlands kind of play with how he thought. And he was saying that he didn't change a culture. And I would say I kind of disagree with that because every kind of league he's gone to, he's changed that culture of, the ball dominant, the moving fast, the moving all around. Dave, I'll start with you. Do you think that he doesn't think of himself as an all-time best manager?
Well, I think that he is one of the all-time greatest. I do understand to a certain extent what he's talked about, whereas Barcelona was operating a certain way, and then Cruyff came in and he said, no, we have to play this way, and we have to invest in the youth academy and stuff like that. And so it is slightly different from that perspective. With Sir Alex, I mean, as fantastic as he was as a manager, I mean, Manchester United kind of already had that culture of playing, youth academy products and things like that, right? The stat that we've touched on in the past, I think since the 1930s, they've had a player from their academy in the match day 18 squad for every single match. It's something like over 2,000 matches. And so, yeah, Sir Alex did, make them into the powerhouse that they are, but I don't know. It's tough to say. It's tough to differentiate between, those top five managers. Now, having said that, Pep has been incredible everywhere he's gone. I would argue he's changed Man City from just a really good team into that upper echelon, elite best team in the world. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily a cultural thing because they've been doing things since 2008 to put all of this infrastructure in place. And so I don't know how much he really has changed it, but he's probably a top five manager of all time. That's where I put him. Now, differentiating at the top, it is tough. And so I can kind of see him deferring that. And so that's kind of where I stand. Christian, what do you think of his remarks?
I think it broke up a little bit when you first said the question. What was his response?
So in an interview, he was asked if he considers himself, I think it was the all-time best manager. And he said no because he hasn't changed the culture. Kind of like Sir Alex Ferguson changed Manchester United or Cruyff changed Barcelona in just entire cultural change. I said I kind of disagree with that, but what do you make of those comments?
Yeah, I would say, in my opinion, from strictly a tactical point, I think Pep may be the best manager to ever really sit on the sideline. He is insanely good at knowing how to play the game, and he's figured out ways to use specific players and adjusted to each league that he's been in. He's done it at 3 different teams, won the league in all the countries he's been in. I think he has to be in that discussion for possibly being number one. But that being said, like Dave said, Sir Alex didn't really change the culture of the club that much. He turned them into winners, which is a little bit different, but didn't really change how the club was being run. I think that, and obviously I know Liverpool history a little bit more, but Bill Shankly took Liverpool from the second division and really just changed the way that they are functioning as a club. So that was obviously a long time ago in the 60s and 70s. But that completely turned them around, and then they won all the league titles. They've won Champions Leagues because he changed it. He should be in that discussion. Yes, Sir Alex is in the top 5, hands down, absolutely. Pep is definitely in there, and I understand he's not really that conceited of a person, and he tries to be modest as much as possible. But I think he could possibly be the best manager, and he has a little bit changed the culture of the club.
Yeah, so in terms of Man City, Dave said that he changed Man City's culture, but I mean, Man City was winning leagues. I know how dominant we are now, but we won 2 leagues before him, 2 league titles before him, and made a Champions League semifinal before he was there. And I mean, we haven't gotten the Champions League trophy. We've won FA Cups, League Cups before him. I don't know necessarily he's changed rather than the money more or less changing, and he's just emphasized I mean, obviously he's the best manager in the world right now, so we're obviously going to be a little bit better than we were when Mancini and Pellegrini were there. But I just don't think he's necessarily changed Man City's long-term culture, because we're still not playing our youth players that much. I mean, Foden's there. We're selling we could have had Sancho, which now looking back on it is how the hell are we not using freaking Sancho? So it's just I don't know if it's. But changed Man City.
Yeah, but I still think he attracts players there, and also he changed tactically the way you guys play. And so from those 2 angles, I think he has changed the culture to a certain extent.
So now that we're on the topic, so he said people that changed the culture. So when Cruyff left, the culture continued, and it was long term. Has Manchester United after Sir Alex Ferguson left? Will we say he changed the culture, or was he just that good?
Yeah, I mean, I think he might have just been that good. The one thing that he did that, I don't think a lot of people highlight is that he was there for so long, but he constantly changed out his coaching staff. And what that did is that it constantly kept refreshed ideas coming through, and it didn't get stale. And so it's really ballsy to change something that is working, but he proved that by doing that, I mean, it keeps fresh ideas coming through. It keeps players motivated. And that, I think, was the really sort of brilliant thing about his managerial style, was that he wasn't afraid to change up the way that things were going when they were still working. And so from that perspective, I think that it was fantastic. And I think that United has lost it a little bit, whereas Cruyff, from a cultural impact perspective, probably had a longer legacy, because it really changed the way that Barcelona operates, at a very deep-rooted level with that club.
Fair enough. Christian, what do you think of it?
Is there a specific question that I was changed? Okay. Did he just smack this?
Well, no. So I was mimicking that I hit that one out of the park, and so you couldn't say anything else, but I forgot that I'm attached to my phone cord, and so it moved my phone. But,
so do you think Sir Alex Ferguson changed Manchester United's culture, or was he just that good of a manager?
I think he's just that good of a manager. I don't really know if he changed the culture from a point of how they operate as a club. He just made them into winners. And similar to the way that Pep is kind of changing the culture, I think you can compare them because they are just natural born winners.
Fair enough. I think I kind of agree with that. Yeah, actually, I really agree with that.
Oh, wow.
More than just kind of. Yeah, and there was another manager that Pep mentioned, but I had no idea who the hell it was.
Rinus Michels? Is that who it was?
I think it was something with an S or
Arena Saki? Or not Arena.
There's more names than just Arena. He's just saying Arena.
Bruce Arena?
No, Saki. I can't remember Saki's first name, but he was the Milan manager, and he really kind of revolutionized things.
Then maybe it was him. Sure.
Yeah, it was probably him.
Yeah. So maybe I'm just going to give him a quick shout of person whose name I do not know. That Pep did mention you. If I could finish that sentence.
This was the perfect time for an Austin Powers reference of Saki Atumi. No, nobody remembers that. No,
that's all you, Christian.
Oh, you guys.
You're gonna stay on that ledge.
I think that's a good place to end right there. You guys have anything else to add?
Nope.
Yes.
Is Dave just trolling?
No, I'm trying to get Saki's first name. Manager Milan. Sorry, my computer is being Arriago. I was close. Not Arena, but I got the first 2 letters correct. Arriago Sacchi. That's who we're talking about. So, Matt, sorry, you can wrap up Matt's Megs. We can and then keep this thing rolling along.
All right, well, that's the end of Matt's Megs. Thanks, Dave, for getting that very important
You're so
last
welcome.
word in.
Well, no, I was trying to put the bow on top of our discussion, Matthew, and so it was important.
So that's
whether
just
you value it or not.
Thanks for listening. Now listen to our plug because there's no music. There's no music. So, Christian, go ahead. Take it away.
So is it Christian's Corner or are we doing
No,
plugs?
Stadium Scene.
Stadium Scene plug.
Okay.
This is your first time doing the podcast?
Okay, got it.
There's no editing, so this is all staying in, Christian.
Shut up.
Ahead.
All right, check out our friends at Stadium Scene if you're going to any stadium in the U.S. or Canada. It doesn't have to be just soccer. It could be any sport. And I'm really glad you guys are talking through this. So, I mean, everyone's going to hear you. They have information about where to park near the stadium, what to do in the stadium, what bars and restaurants are happening, and what events are happening in the area, among other things, such as what, Matthew?
Well, they also partner with content creators like ourselves and offer you things like blog posts, podcasts, YouTube videos, that incredible stuff, similar like what we put out. It's stadiumscene.tv, and again, it's not just soccer. All sports North America, so check them out.
Christian, now it's over to you for Christian's Corner.
Well, thanks. Can you let Matt say it, though?
Hey, well, Christian,
Matt
it's over to you, to Christian's Corner.
Thanks. All right, so Christian's Corner begins now. So we're going to start here with what we talked about a little earlier, which was Fernando Torres when Matt mentioned it in Matt's Megs. What do you think his legacy is as a player, just as a striker, and in terms of what the hell is your problem? Stop chugging champagne.
He's choking.
It's so bubbly.
Okay, Dave, I'll go to you first because you're a Liverpool fan and you saw him probably more than Matt did. Do you think Fernando Torres leaves a lasting memory on a lot of people? What do you think of his career in general?
Yeah, I think he absolutely leaves a lasting legacy. I mean, at Liverpool, I would argue he was the most lethal striker in the world for a short period of time. And so I was always slightly frustrated with him because I think he was a little bit wasteful with some of his opportunities. But at the end of the day, I mean, he scored so many goals for the club, and I think he'll be remembered fondly. I think that he won't go down as an all-time great because he more or less was at his peak with Liverpool for a few years. And then moving on to Chelsea, he definitely took a slide, and then going back to Madrid, he just wasn't the same player. But I think he will be remembered fondly, and he will have, a pretty good legacy, but it won't be among the greats. That's kind of how I think about him.
Okay. Matt, what do you think about Fernando Torres' legacy?
Yeah, so I think to be like the all-time great strikers in that conversation, you have to have won a Ballon d'Or, and I know he came in, third, or did he come in second one year?
Third.
Or no, third. That was the highest he ever did. I wouldn't put him like Ibra with his longevity, even though he didn't win. I think he'll still be in that conversation at the end of his career. But when we're talking about all-time great strikers, I think they at least won and were consistent for maybe 7 years, I would say.
Yeah, whereas Ibra, what I was kind of touching on with Torres had some really good years with Atletico his first time around, and then with Liverpool. What's been so impressive about Ibra is he's been on so many teams and has won so many leagues, and he's just done it over so many years. That's why, I would put him ahead, even though he hasn't won a Ballon d'Or either, So, yeah, Matt, I think you're spot on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so I only said one sentence before Dave just decided to chime in right there.
You weren't talking anymore, so I figured, all right, my apologies.
You went...
I apologize.
Okay. Well, I accept your apology.
It's too late to apologize.
Yeah, so I don't know how many goals he's scored for Spain either. Does anyone know, is he in the all-time conversation there?
Yes. He's close. He's not number one, though.
Yeah, so I think just him winning, he won a World Cup and 2 Euros, correct? Is that what Spain did? Those 3 straight tournaments?
Yep.
So he's going to be in the conversation as, probably a legend, but not, in the conversation as one of the best. I think it's deserved. Deserved. That's it. That's definitely the word. But yeah, I think he's deserved kind of, at least an icon card in FIFA.
Oh, wow.
That's where we're leaving this off.
Okay, fair enough. Torres was absolutely just a joy to watch when he was at Liverpool for me. He was the first striker that I really loved when I was watching them, and him and Gerrard had an incredible relationship on the field and off of it. So it was just really, really fun when he was at the club. But yeah, I don't know if he tarnished his career by moving to Chelsea, or if just his injuries really caught up with him at the end of the day, because his game was built on speed. He had a couple of knee injuries and never really was the same player after that. His prime years were with Atletico Madrid and the first time he was there, and with Liverpool. And I'm pretty sure with Atletico, he had I can't remember if it's 300 or 400 goals total, which is insane to me that he had that many, because he left them at 23 or 24 years old. So he must have scored a lot. I think he started playing for them at 16 and was captaining them by 19 years old. So he really,
how many goals did he score?
I'm pretty sure it was 400, but I might need to pull that.
That does not seem correct, and my mouse is not working. So
Aguero
I had a
230 for Man City, and Aguero
he's been there for 12 years.
Right, no, I'm saying between his first time there and his second time there. It's 12 goals, yeah.
400?
No, 12 years Aguero's been at City. I wish my freaking mouse was working.
I had a picture of it, and now it's not appearing.
Aguero scored his 400th goal today in all competitions.
I knew that.
So I'm just going to say I don't think that Torres has... So, if he does, then put him in the conversation as the all-time best.
Yeah, so just to circle back, he has 38 goals for Spain. That is third all-time.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
Very good.
Helpful.
Thank you. Yes, very helpful.
Yeah.
Was it 300 goals?
He has less than 100 goals for Atletico, at least based on this. Maybe this is just league play. He might have 400 appearances. I think maybe you're thinking of appearances, Christian?
It may have been appearances that the stat.
Yeah, I think it might be appearances that you're talking about, because he most certainly does not have 400 goals.
Yeah, when I read it, I was like, I can't understand how that's possible, because now I'm kind of remembering it said he had 244, I think, the first time he was with Atletico, which I guess was...
That's appearances. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I mean, he still deserves to be in the conversation for one of the greats of this generation, but yes. I don't think he's an all-time elite striker, obviously. And like you said, Ibrahimovic was a better player overall. He's done it over a longer period of time. But in this generation, you probably have players like David Villa.
Christian, move your phone away from the mic.
It's nowhere near it.
That was definitely me. I messed with my headset.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Now we're okay.
Righty then.
He's okay.
Yeah, Aguero, Torres, David Villa, Ibra, those are the elite strikers you think of. Drogba probably is in that discussion too for this generation of players. But Suarez obviously is that type of player as well. Those players will be remembered, but I don't think any of them are really in the discussion for best strikers of all time. And Torres is just another one of those players that he had so much promise and could have been in that discussion if he didn't go through the injuries and lose a lot of his pace. But he still was absolutely lethal and a joy to watch. Anything else you want to add on his career, David?
Since you named...
But Matthew can.
Yeah, so since you named all those players, I just want to say Aguero and that generational great striker as well.
Yeah.
Also, since I think you left Aguero off that time, but since we're talking about this, where would you put Benzema in this generation strikers? Considering, he didn't really get to play for France. Dave, I'm gonna throw up from watching you move all over the place, but Benzema, how good he's been at Real Madrid and staying that starting striker for so long. Do you think he's in that conversation or no?
What conversation? Best striker of this generation?
No, is he in that top generational striker? With
I would say
Suarez.
No, I don't think he's at the level of Suarez. He's really like
Cavani.
Benzema. Yeah, I think that's actually a pretty good.
Or Higuain.
He's better.
Yeah, I think he's better than Higuain. I would put Cavani and and Benzema ahead of Higuain. But I think they're kind of around that area. I would put them around top 10 strikers of this generation. I wouldn't put them any higher. I would think they're kind of around the 10 mark. I mean, maybe as high as 8, but I wouldn't put them any higher than that.
Oh, really up there with 8.
I would say that would be the height. I really like Benzema too, but I don't think you can really compare him to a Suarez, to an Ibra, or anything like that, you know?
Before Jose Mourinho, he was just a cat, and now he's a lion. In his wise words, Karim
That's
Benzema.
true. And Higuain was his dog. Why would you hunt with your cat when you can hunt with your dog? I remember him also saying. I don't know if anyone remembers that. No, nobody remembers.
I do. No, I do.
Okay.
That's why.
All right, so we're gonna move on from Torres, unless you guys have something else to add here.
No,
I kind of like how astray we
did just get a comment saying Lewandowski, who I completely left off that list, and he's definitely an elite striker that is probably in the top 3 right now. All right, so we're going to move on to, I think, Arsenal, and we're going to talk a little bit about Aubameyang and Lacazette and how they're being used. Do you think Aubameyang, and I'll start with Matt this time, is being used correctly? My God, you're really chugging that champagne over there.
Well, I was about to until I was interrupted
summoned
by a question.
So, do you think Aubameyang is being misused by Arsenal? Sometimes when Lacazette starts, he's being put on the wing. I think Aubameyang could be his best striker in the league on his day, and I think he might be out of position, and it's not really worth it for Arsenal. But I want to get your opinion on that.
No, I don't think he's being played necessarily out of position. I think you kind of play with the players you're given, and like granted, Arsenal, they don't really have they have a lot of strikers that are good, but they don't really have the great wingers. Like if you have to put them on the wing, you kind of have to just to get him on the field. And I think since he's been in the league, he has the most goals. Like since he joined Arsenal, I'm pretty sure he has the most goals in the Premier League. So
I mean Aguero might be ahead of him. I think they brought it up on the broadcast today. I want to say Aguero's slightly ahead of him,
over Salah
or yesterday.
I'm pretty sure Salah is number 1 on that list.
Oh, maybe it was Salah.
Yeah.
Well,
they were talking about it on a recent recent broadcast.
Aubameyang is definitely in the top 3. We'll just say it that way.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, well, he's definitely top 3. But I'll say just like that stat alone, I think it shows like he's not really being played out of position. I think Arsenal need just more depth and wing talent. I think it would be good for Lacazette and Aubameyang. It's because they're both so good. It's hard to say rotate them, kind of like Jesus and Aguero, because they don't really have like the wings to support it. So having to put them.
Do you think that was a mistake? Because when Lacazette came on yesterday, they looked so much better. Do you think it's a mistake not to start him with Aubameyang?
Well, I think the mistake yesterday was formation based. I mean, Emery came out with the 4-4-2 diamond, and like just Liverpool's strong suit is their outside backs.
Oh yeah, they had so much space.
I do think it was interesting that he started Pepe over over Lacazette when they more or less went with a 4-4-2 formation. I think Lacazette was better suited to that. I think Pepe is a little bit better as more of a straight up winger, whereas yesterday I don't think. I think it would have made more sense to start Lacazette yesterday rather than Pepe.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Dave, do you think overall that Aubameyang and Lacazette aren't being used correctly?
I mean, I don't know if correctly is the right word. I think that
in their the best way you could, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to play a 4-4-2 and if they want to go with a 4-4-2 diamond, I feel like Lacazette would be better suited because he is more of a striker. But if they're going to play a 4-3-3 or something like that, I don't think Aubameyang or Lacazette is really great as a winger. In fact, I think Aubameyang might be a better winger than Lacazette. So it's tough to say because ultimately he's the one who's there in training. I'm not going to try to claim that I'm smarter than Emery or something like that. So I don't really know. Yeah. Okay. So go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just claiming that I was smarter than Emery.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of mistakes with Arsenal and with Ozil still not playing and just everything that's going on with Mkhitaryan also not starting. Like they have so much talent on that bench, players that can play out wide and attacking mids that could have made a big difference to the game yesterday. And they're just still not there. And I don't understand why that they're setting up the way they are. Torreira not starting also is a holding mid that they didn't play yesterday. I think it was just a lot of mistakes But overall, I think Aubameyang is arguably the best striker in the league, and I think that he should be playing striker the majority of the time and not being used on the wing.
All right, fair enough.
All right. Anyone else have anything else to add about this
No.
topic? All right,
No.
quick one. So we'll move on to my last topic here, which if my phone opens, I will be able to see. So I was having a
unwhelming signing for your team.
Oh, yeah. Did I write that?
You wrote
yes,
unwhelming.
I did. We stopped reading my stuff. All right. So I was having a conversation at the bar yesterday while I was watching the Liverpool-Arsenal game, and we were talking about who we think is the most underwhelming player that our team has signed. So, Dave, I'll start with you. Since you're a Liverpool fan, I'll let you. Did I say unwhelming?
No, but I mean, you don't give us any sort of preparation.
No, but it's more fun this way. I didn't have preparation yesterday, and I had to think. So this podcast is about us thinking on our toes.
What did you do yesterday?
I was at the bar. I just told you about the whole thing.
I was not listening. I was so focused on unwhelming. Oh man, most underwhelming player that the club has signed.
Unwhelming, yeah.
Unwhelming. Yeah, unwhelming. So you're Matt. Do you have anyone that comes to mind? Because
are we talking about Liverpool or are we talking about
City? Your team. Yeah. So City. If you have anyone that comes to mind for City,
Dave, you can talk about the Union too, if you.
Yeah.
I mean, Freddie Adu is probably. Yeah. I mean, that's the easy sort of cop out answer. I mean, probably Rise and Boley, right? He came first off. We didn't need to sign him, and then. Once we signed him as a goalkeeper, he certainly didn't live up to the hype. It completely unsettled the team, it cost the manager his job, and that was just an absolute nightmare. And so he was fantastic for Algeria. He's moved on and I think continued to do well, but he just was terrible for the Union. I would
throw Murray Seydoux in there too because he was missing for as long as he was.
No, but he was good when he was there, though. Like I do not put him in the same class as Mboli. Even Freddie Adu had his moments. Mboli was just terrible throughout. And he was a world-class goalkeeper coming from Algeria, doing well at the World Cup. So from a Union perspective, yeah, I'll take that answer. Matt, anyone for City come to mind while I think of Liverpool?
Robinho and Joe. Like Robinho, because I think at the time he was the world record signing, I want to say, from Real Madrid. I'm pretty sure he was.
No.
I'm pretty sure Zidane was.
Yeah, I think Zidane was until Ronaldo broke it, right?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
He may have been the Premier League's record signing.
No, because it wasn't Zidane's to Newcastle or from Newcastle to Madrid.
Where do you think Zidane played? Where do you think Zidane played?
Right? Oh, no, Newcastle.
Yeah, they're black and white, so I can see why you were confused.
I can't believe Newcastle didn't do more with it.
Yeah, I know. God, that's crazy. My mouse has completely stopped working.
Matt, so you're going with Robinho?
Robinho, Joe was pretty bad. Another Brazilian. I would say
any reasons why you think that?
They just didn't perform necessarily well. I'm thinking of another because I mean, like with the money we've kind of just thrown at the team, we've had our fair share of not great signings. Mangala at the time was the most expensive defender in the world a couple of years ago, and he got injuries and. Oh, hello, Kristen.
You scared the hell out of me.
That scared me a little bit. But, yeah, I would say Mangala. He's one of the most expensive defenders in the world still, even though he was purchased a couple years ago, but he's not been great.
Okay. Dave, have you thought of anyone from Liverpool?
So the only one that comes to mind right now is Alberto Aquilani. I don't know why he's sticking out in my mind, but
he's one of my two that I was going to mention.
Yeah, so I know he came with fairly high expectations and really didn't do anything. So I don't know. I would say
he was brought in to be a direct replacement for Xabi Alonso, and that just did not work out because Xabi Alonso is one of the best midfielders we've had in the last 20, 30 years. So that was just a rough transition for him. He had those expectations that he just could not live up to. And him and probably Andy Carroll would be the other one that I'm going to throw in there. He was our record signing at £35 million, just was always injured. And when he wasn't injured, he really just did not perform. He did early on his first 6 months at the club, but after that, it was just not great. So he'd probably be my number one, with Aquilani probably being number two. at least from most recent years. What's going on, guys?
Yeah. Matthew put something in the chat, but my mouse isn't working, so I can't click on it. So I don't know what he said. Yeah.
We'll touch back on that.
We can talk about it later. So,
Yeah.
anything else you guys would like to add on the underwhelming players?
Underwhelming?
Underwhelming.
Unwhelming. I'm good on the unwhelming players.
I'm good on underwhelming.
So, to answer Matt's question, I feel like yes, but Dave might not like it.
So do your no. Let's wrap up.
I don't know what
Corner.
the question
Let's wrap up
is.
Christian's
Okay,
Corner.
let's wrap up Christian's Corner, and that's the wrap.
Okay.
So then we're going to go over to Dave for Dave's Domestic Dive.
Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome to Dave's Domestic Dive. That sound you're hearing is the intro for that. And first thing we're talking about, Matthew, you have something you would like to say first.
Yeah, I would like to say start with Christian real quick,
Okay.
and I'll catch
All right.
up.
Okay. So welcome to Dave's Domestic Dive, where we're talking about what's happening in American soccer one way or another. And so MLS this week announced that they are expanding to St. Louis with a majority female ownership group. And so it's really awesome to have a majority female ownership group. I want to say it's the first majority female ownership group in all of the top 5 American sports. And so that's really cool. Christian, what do you think about MLS expanding to St. Louis? Do you think that's the right market for them to expand to next?
Yeah, so one of my best friends is from St. Louis and is very, very excited about this.
Shout out, Brendan.
Yeah, good work, Brendan. You keep it up. I know you're listening to this podcast because you're such an avid fan. So I think this is just... it's an important step for St. Louis because they do produce incredible soccer players. Like we've seen it over and over again. They do represent at the national team level almost more than anyone else. We see a lot of people coming out of St. Louis and they need a team there. I think that they could really do well with using a youth academy. And I don't know if they will need to spend too much to get a lot of top talent if they do use a youth academy correctly, the way that we're starting to see with, I think FC Dallas has been really good with that, and the Union are starting to transition into using their youth academy a little bit
Red
more.
Bulls are pretty good with that too.
So I'm really excited. I'm happy that there's an all-women's group ownership group, so that'll be really, really good to see. And St. Louis is now in the league, so that's good.
Christian, or Matthew, what do you think about MLS choosing to expand to St. Louis? Do you think that's the right move for them?
Yeah, and I think it's good that St. Louis kind of has another major sports team, losing the Rams. So right now they have the Blues, they have the Cardinals, and that's it right now.
Yeah.
Basketball? What?
No basketball.
He said
no basketball. No basketball. I was like, they don't have a basketball. But
no.
Not today.
Yeah. So I think it's good that a market this big that is looking for another sports team got soccer, and it's just more people that can focus, caring about your city and then being able to focus it on a sports team. Whereas, Philadelphia, I know the Union are good now and are getting good attendance, but when we have all the major sports, it's kind of tough for everyone to care about the Union. And I think being in St. Louis and getting those, being, I guess, the third biggest team in the city is still going to get good attendance.
Yeah. And on top of it, I mean, Christian, you touched on, so there's already a soccer culture that exists in St. Louis, and they have been producing players for the national team. I mean, every national team that's made a World Cup since 1950 has had a player from St. Louis. So there's already a culture of soccer that exists there. Having said all of that, I still think it probably makes sense from a business perspective to go after St. Louis, but I think Sacramento has done more to warrant them being awarded an expansion franchise ahead of them. I know that MLS is already in 3 California markets and all of that, but I think that they've existed, and they've existed really well at the lower divisions. I think that they may have proven themselves, but I get it from a business perspective, and it's slightly disappointing from just that mindset, but I think St. Louis is going to be a very good side for MLS to expand to. Christian, anything else you want to add?
Nope.
Matthew?
No.
Oh, wait, I do want to add one thing. If you're watching this on YouTube, please check in on what Matt was just doing there while Dave was giving his little speech. He filled up the glass with champagne, which was pretty much all full for his mimosa. Then he drank out of the bottle instead of actually drinking out of the glass.
There you go.
And put this much orange juice on top.
This is how much
All
champagne
right.
I have left from this bottle.
All right. Matthew has finished a bottle of champagne during this podcast.
Bottle
All right,
bubbly.
he's feeling good. He is
Now he's
feeling very good. All gone. All right, next thing we're talking about. A weird situation happened in MLS because it's MLS and those things happen. But Remy Gard, who was the manager for the Montreal Impact, I say was because he was recently fired, and Wilmer Cabrera, who was the Houston Dynamo manager as of recently within the last 2 weeks, he wasn't doing well with the Houston Dynamo, but Montreal felt it smart enough to fire their existing manager and hire Wilmer Cabrera. Matthew, what do you think about Montreal making this decision? Do you have any reservations or any issues with Montreal appointing a manager that was more or less failing in Houston very quickly after firing their manager? What do you think about this decision?
Well, just in professional sports in general, just professional sports in general, it's when you know a league, it's easier to move around, and just go from team to team. I feel like, so I don't think it's too big of, it's not like that big of a deal that they hired somebody that didn't work out at a certain team. The fact that he was just recently, like, within, the time frame, I think that's a little bit odd. But just like hiring a coach that didn't necessarily succeed at one team, I don't think that's a big deal at all. I just think that's kind of normal. Every situation's different. They probably think with his tactics and the players they have, they can succeed in Montreal. Whereas Houston, one thing or another, whatever the reason was why they weren't succeeding, it doesn't necessarily matter when you go to a different team.
Christian, what do you think about Montreal appointing Wilmer Cabrera?
Houston fired their coach 2 weeks ago. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't really understand the way you phrased the question.
I didn't either, but I just kind of
he did not say that. It sounded like he meant that Montreal came in and hired the Houston coach who was still active and got him.
No,
today.
I said he was fired less than 2 weeks ago by Houston.
No, you said he was coaching within the last 2
Okay.
weeks.
My apologies, guys.
Yeah, so
he was fired by Houston for underperforming.
I absolutely have no problem with that. He's got MLS experience. He's in a different conference now, and he will know how the culture of MLS works. Yes, it's a different team. It's in a different country, so it's definitely going to be different, and it's going to be a new experience. But I have no problem with them hiring someone who, yes, 2 weeks ago was let go, but he did a decent job at Houston. And yeah, they've fallen off the rails late on in the season a little bit, but they're not terrible. And I think he has the experience now to be successful at Montreal.
Didn't they win an Open Cup?
They won an Open Cup, but they were more or less terrible in the league. And this past year, this season, he is not doing well. The argument that people are making, I think MLS Extra Time, the podcast, shouted this out, is that he has done relatively well in knockout competitions. And Montreal, because they are sliding so much right now, they're more or less in a knockout competition the rest of this season to just make the playoffs. And so that is the only reason why I can understand this working out. I don't know if this is a smart long-term hire. He's someone who I don't believe has any affiliations with the club. And for them to appoint him after more or less flaming out in Houston is a really curious decision from them. And so the only argument I see is what the Extra Time guys argued, is that he has done well in knockout competitions, motivating players or getting them to perform in sort of these one-off situations. And I can see it working out from that perspective. But more or less, this is a very, very curious hire and not something I think I've ever really seen before. Can you guys recall, I don't know, anything? I guess maybe in the Premier League, a manager will leave and then all of a sudden be appointed like 2 weeks later or something like that. But can you guys think of anything like that, Matt? Where a player leaves from...
A player or a manager?
A manager leaves from one team and he was underperforming, he was fired, and then within 2 weeks is appointed somewhere else? I can understand players or managers doing well and then being coached.
Because it seems like
Marco
Premier
Silva
League
did that.
No, well, okay. Well, how many questions do you want me to answer, Dave?
6.
Okay, so I feel like in the Premier League, the bottom half kind of just rotates managers at a certain to a certain extent. Like Big Sam, I know he got fired from England after leaving. I'm confused because he's been on a couple teams now. I forget where he left to go to England and then was fired.
I think he was on West Ham before he went to England, right?
Or was it Everton?
It was somewhere.
Maybe.
And then he went to England, got that whole scandal, and then immediately came back to another team, which I'm also blanking on. But I would say that is probably the closest analogy I can think of. And especially like the scandal, like it seems like the bottom teams when they're struggling, there's like 10 managers they can just rotate from that have been in the Premier League, have gotten out of relegation situations, have won that sort of, that fight, and then another club will need them in a couple years or a couple months.
Yeah, but it's still, I guess so. Christian, anyone you can think of or anything else to add?
No one really at the top of my mind right now, but I really don't have any problem with someone being let go and hired immediately because, like I said, it's the same league. You're bringing somebody in who has the experience and knows the culture of the league, and being fired, now they have ideas that, okay, this didn't work out. Now I could change a little bit to this, and maybe it will work out this time. So this works for me.
Matthew, something else to add?
No.
Okay, you were holding your hand up.
Yeah, I'm holding my hand up because I'm out of alcohol, and my Trulies are in the fridge.
Okay. All right, let's keep this moving along. Listener questions here. Thank you to Sal and Houston Dynamo. I don't think you're the actual Houston Dynamo joining on YouTube, but if you are, hello, welcome.
I wanted to make a comment about that because I'm also in Houston right now, and if you would love to drink champagne on Sundays with me, I am always open.
There you go.
We get live podcast viewing right there.
There you go.
Person.
All right, so listener questions here. The only one we wanted to touch on here came from... Oh, no, I'm forgetting your name. I'll look it up as we go along here. But it was a YouTube comment. My apologies here. But he touched on, surprised that we didn't mention the growing Nazi problem in MLS and how the league is using their stance on political speech to protect against fascism in the stands. So, guys, I know you're probably not following this nearly as much as I am. But this all stems back to the Portland Timbers had some anti-Nazi flags in their stands. The
That's
Iron
good.
Front.
I feel like that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah. Keep going.
So, So they had those in the stands. MLS ultimately came out and banned them from having the flags. They forced them to take them down and kick them out. MLS's stance on all of this is that they don't want any sort of political speech one way or another getting into the stadiums. And their perspective is that if you allow kind of left side, anti-Nazi stuff, then you're going to have the counterpoint of the Nazis then feeling like they want to support and come into the stadium. Then you're going to have this political battleground in the stadium. Having said that, I feel like if you're going to, by kicking people out that have leftist sort of welcoming banners. So the Iron Front was a political party in the 1930s that opposed the Nazis. And for them to kick them out, it's almost like they're choosing the opposite side. And I know in the Seattle-Portland game, they came out this week and had banners saying anti-fascist, anti-racist, and all of that. And the captains exchanged banners, and MLS is doing its best. But it's a really sort of delicate situation. And at the end of the day, I think that I just would have expected MLS to fall more on the left side of things. They do things like Pride Month, which is very welcoming to the LGBTQ community. They do things like, military appreciation nights. And so they're already sort of involved in kind of these political issues. And I know LGBTQ isn't exactly political, but it's become politicized. And so for MLS, Matthew.
How did you mention LGBTQ not political and then just ignore? How is military appreciation political?
Military is very closely tied to government policy.
I mean,
whereas LGBTQ, their rights are tied to laws and things like that. But it's more or less a social issue rather than military is a government.
Okay.
Yeah, is a government branch.
Okay.
Either way, I think that MLS, I can at a very, very high level understand why they're saying, they don't want any sort of political speech. But at the end of the day, if you're going to, they almost need to take a stance, and I would have rather them taken the stance of allowing kind of the leftist sort of more welcoming banners where you're opposing, Nazis and racists and things like that. So that's kind of where I stand. Guys, anything else you want to add on this?
Yeah.
Christian.
I understand what they're doing. I understand they don't want it to become a real battle of politics in sports, and in general, they just don't want there to be a lot of conflict. And like you said, they mentioned they don't want the opposite side to then approach that feel like they need to defend themselves. So yeah, keeping Nazis out of games is okay with me.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Let's keep Nazis out. Matthew, anything else you would like to add?
Well, all right, yeah. So I kind of agree with kind of the stance MLS took, where they don't want any sort of major political stance. I mean, I know they have, like you said, they've taken on certain other things, but they're not as like controversial, I would say, as this kind of situation with the Nazis. I know, first of all, I don't understand why there are Nazis in America. That is beyond me. But there is, like, it would just cause too much of a scene if you're allowing that sort of propaganda at your stadiums. Because then, the opposition would want to, they went black, but the opposition would want to like counteract that and just show up, and that's just not a good look for MLS. Just having that at your stadiums and becoming kind of like a political thing, so they're just trying to get rid of it. I know, like the NFL dealing with Kaepernick's issue has been absolutely ridiculous, and like no matter how much it made sense, the stance he was taking, it just took all attention off the NFL, and kind of it wasn't a good look for the league, and it took a little bit of a hit, and they just kind of want none of that really in the sport, and I somewhat agree with it. So Dave is talking, but nobody can hear him.
Yeah, no one can hear anything he's saying.
Hello.
Yeah,
we can hear. I see you. Hello.
But yeah, we can't hear you.
Is it me you're looking for? Just keep talking,
keep
and
moving your
eventually,
mouth like that. That'd be good.
Do you?
Oh, trivia. Okay,
Trivia.
So I'll ask the trivia question here, and the trivia question was, and I guess I'll ask Matt first since Dave just got the F out of here. Who has scored the latest Premier League goal recorded?
So I have.
And what minute was it scored in?
Absolutely no idea. I'm going to say the goal time was in the hundreds, just because of just injuries, and it's got to be like a ridiculous number. So I'm going to say like 102, and I'm just going to – holy crap, like I could guess anybody in the freaking Premier League. So I'm going to say like 102nd minute, and I'm going to say Drogba, because I have literally no clue in the world.
Okay. Dave?
So I think
we can't hear you.
It started with I think. There's
Try
an
your
F,
other
there's
computer
another
that's on
F
right
word.
now.
I can't. He's speaking Italian now with his hands.
Wrap it up. Do you want to, with your hands, tell us what minute you think it's in? 1, 0, 2.
Oh, that's what I guessed.
Wow, that's what Matt guessed. That's so weird. Do you have a guess of who it was? Drogba. That's literally the same exact guess that Matt had. It's right. Wrong. It's wrong.
Oh, damn.
But it's the 102nd minute, and it was a penalty in the game against Arsenal with Liverpool's Dirk Kuyt scoring. Yep.
Dave disagrees. I disagree as well. Disagrees. It was clearly Drogba in the 102nd minute.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So that'll wrap up Dave's domestic dive in the trivia here. And so should we tell him about Slack and stuff? Okay. So check us out on Slack if you want to talk with me and Dave. Sometimes Matt. Matt's not really involved, but whatever. And a bunch of other people in our little podcast community. If you want to talk about soccer, we got all these different channels, such as the top 5 European leagues, MLS, Liga MX, international soccer, transfer rumors, all that good stuff. Got a general category where you can just talk about anything you want, and people will respond, trust me. So, yeah, get us involved in your lives. get involved in ours. And if you want to be involved, you can tweet at us at BTSoccerPod, or you can email us at bros.talking.soccer, and we will get you all up in there. Matt, would you like to tell them about our website? It's just so great to watch Dave laugh.
Before I say the website, I used to have the Twitter plug, and I lost it, and I'm very disappointed.
That's because I just made it part of Slack.
Okay. But our website is www.brostalkingsoccer.com. There, you can read about just like our biography of all the great things we've done in our lives. You can see past episodes, links to our YouTube channel. There's also an Amazon store link. The store link, and then also onto that, an Amazon store link where it's no additional cost to you. You have to go through that link, and we just get a teeny tiny, miny percentage of that. Just maybe one extra step really helps support the show. We also have our merchandise in our store section, and you can get some cool gear from us. And there's also a buy us a shot feature, where it is $3. $3. It just really helps support us if you have a little bit of extra money going around and you kind of love what we're doing. Just help support us, and we'll love you for that.
We will. It's definitely true. And if you're going to download this on iTunes, please give us a review. Everything helps. And we hope you enjoy it as much as we love doing it and providing it for you. So yeah, 5 stars would be great. And any written review is also an additional bonus. So anything you would like to say, please let us know. All right. I think that'll wrap it up here. And we enjoyed seeing all of your beautiful faces, obviously, as we can see you all as we record this podcast. And Matt looks like he's frozen, but he's not. I don't know why he was like that. Dave says goodbye to everybody because he's waving and he's smiling like a freak of nature. Matt, would you like to say goodbye to the people? Goodbye to the people, he says and waves. So thanks everybody for listening in, and we hope to see you soon. Have a good one, everybody.
Brian, what do I love?
Fantasy football.
I do love fantasy football, but what else do I love?
Making money?
I love winning money, but no. Well, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Ooh, I know. Sundays.
I love Sundays. And I'm not talking ice cream, ladies and gentlemen.
And if you love playing fantasy football, you need to check out the FTLS Fantasy Football Podcast with myself and Johnny Bats over here.
Find us on Apple Podcast or your preferred podcast app. And as always, check out all of our work at www.ftlsunday.com. Look forward to winning with you all year.